Okay, so now we're going to take a look at creating resources in GCP or Google Cloud. So first things first, you're going to go to Google Cloud and you're going to, if you don't have any projects set up, the first thing you need to do is create a new project. This is just like in Azure, this is the equivalent of like a resource group. So what you're going to do is create a new project so that you can assign all of these resources or these, all of your cloud instances to that project. It's just a nice way of keeping things kind of, set up. So I'm here in my demo project. And what I'm going to do is once I'm in demo, I'm going to go ahead and do create a VM. It's going to bring me to the GCP create an instance page. So a lot of this should seem relatively familiar. So I'm going to call this demo VM. And then again, you can select a region. So we talked about regions and we talked about availability zones. And that's the same thing here in Google Cloud. So we have regions and these are different data centers that are available for you to spin up your resources in. Then we have different zones. So if I were to choose Central 1 Iowa, there are 4 different zones I can choose to put my virtual machine in. So now I'm going to do machine configuration. So this terminology should look familiar also. We've got general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, and GPUs. I'm just going to select a general purpose. And I'm going to do an EC2, or I'm sorry, that's AWS. I'm going to do an E2 instance. So then moving on, what I can do is look at the machine types. So there's a couple that are available in that E2 series. So I have E2 micro, E2 small, E2 medium. So I guess I'll just select E2 medium. This isn't going to persist very long past this demo, so I'll just go ahead and select that. And then availability policies. So we saw these in Azure also. So there's standard and then there's spot. So those, those machines that you can spin up that are just placed according to, the capacity the cloud has at the time. So then we can look at provisioning and advanced options. So I wanted to look at, so here we have confidential VM service. So we also saw something in Azure. You can deploy a container image directly to this VM. So that's really nice. Remember we talked about, you can create custom containers. And so you can have that directly on this VM. You can play around with your boot disk if you want to. And then identity and API access, we're just going to go ahead and use the default service account for our identity. Then we're going to, for access scopes, you can set specific access for each instance of your VM. This is a little bit more in the weeds than we're going to get just now, but IAM or identity and access management will be a part of our security deep dive. So our firewall, now let's just say if we want to allow HTTP traffic and allow HTTPS traffic. So we're going to go ahead and select allow HTTP. There's an observability agent that you can install on this VM as part of setup so that you can monitor your VM in different ways. And then I wanted to look at security. And we're going to look at manage access. So there's a couple of things that are interesting here. So you can use IAM permissions to control that VM. So you can assign access to the VM through different accounts you can set up for your organization. You can block project-wide SSH keys. So basically, if you set up an SSH key that's associated with this project, you can block access to that machine if there's if people are just using one shared SSH key. So we talked a little bit last class about shared SSH keys, and there's reasons to do it and reasons not to do it. For our purposes, let's just go ahead and generate a new SSH key, per user, per machine. So we're going to, you can also add your own, manually generated SSH keys. So you can generate an SSH key through third-party tools and then upload them. Okay, so there's some metadata. These are like tags in Azure. And sole tenancy. So we're not able to do that here, but if you wanted your machine to be the only machine on an entire server, then you could select sole tenancy. So assuming that I haven't forgotten anything, I'm going to go ahead and select create. And then it's going to bring us to our VM instances, and it's going to let us know the state of this VM. So right now it's still provisioning. And then status is going to tell you if it's okay. If there's like a red exclamation point, then something went wrong. If it's a green check mark, then everything looks okay. So we'll just wait for this to generate. Perfect. So we look like we're all good. So what we can do is we can go over here. We can go ahead and go to connect. And we're going to do SSH. And then it's going to launch. Oh, I need to stop and share a different screen really quickly. It's going to go ahead and share this whole window that launched in a new tab. Okay, so when you hit connect, it's going to say allow SSH in browser to connect to your VM. We're going to go ahead and select authorize. So now it's going to connect to the SSH server, but you'll notice it says SSH in browser. So in this case, we don't even have to open a terminal and then use our SSH command to connect to this machine. We can just do this directly in browser. It handles all of it for us, which is amazing. So now we can go ahead and do sudo apt-get -y update. It's going to update our packages. Great. Now we're going to do sudo apt-get -y install nginx. Perfect. Okay, now let's go back over here to our VM instance. One thing that we can look at is we can go ahead and look at settings for our demo VM by clicking on that. And you'll notice we scroll down, you can look at the machine configuration and networking, firewalls. HTTP traffic is on, so we can access our nginx server. HTTPS traffic is off for the moment. Great, so this is looking good. So now if we go back to our demo VM, we can launch this external IP in browser. And look at that, we've got the nginx server homepage, default page. So that means that we're all set up with our virtual machine running in Google Cloud. Excellent.